The discovery for billions of years, the Sun has ruled unchallenged. A colossal sphere of fire and plasma, burning with timeless fury. Its light stretches across billions of kilometers, touching every world, every orbit, every shadow that drifts within its reach. It shapes planets, sculpts atmospheres, and defines the fragile borders of life itself. It is the one constant in our sky, steady, predictable, supreme. No force has ever altered its will. No object has ever bent the breath of its solar wind. Until now. Buried deep within a cascade of data from NASA's Parker Solar Probe and the European Space Agency's Solar Orbiter, scientists discovered something unexpected. A whisper of distortion hiding in the Sun's own breath. The solar wind, that endless storm of charged particles, should have flowed smoothly through the dark. But it didn't. It bent. It curved where no natural force could curve it. At first, it was dismissed as turbulence. Instrument error. Background noise. But it wasn't. The pattern was too precise. Too clean. It had structure, geometric, deliberate, intelligent. And at the center of that strange, silent distortion was something small, something moving, something not born of this system. They called it 3I Atlas, or as the world would come to know it, 3 Atlas. At first glance, it seemed harmless. Another interstellar wanderer, a visitor from the deep void. The third of its kind ever seen, after Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019. A frozen relic drifting through the dark, captured briefly by our star's gravity, then destined to vanish into infinity. But 3 Atlas refused to behave like anything known. As astronomers followed its path, they noticed its light was not random. It brightened and dimmed in perfect rhythm, like a pulse. Like a heartbeat. As if it were communicating. Its light curves repeated with mathematical precision. Not reflections of sunlight off tumbling ice, but signals, organized, deliberate, and steady. Then came the first shock. When the James Webb Space Telescope turned toward it, the data it returned defied logic. 3 Atlas wasn't merely reflecting light. It was modulating it, absorbing photons, re-emitting them in sculpted, engineered frequencies. Each interval matched the same timing as the solar wind distortions observed by Parker and Solar Orbiter. It was as though the object and the Sun were speaking the same language. A silent dialogue between star and visitor. No comet could do this. No rock could shape plasma or whisper through light. But 3 Atlas did. The Parker probe, brushing the edge of the solar corona, recorded patterns unlike any model in existence. The wind of the Sun, normally uniform, powerful, relentless, was curling, spiraling, as if drawn toward a hidden point in space. When scientists mapped that point, it aligned perfectly with the coordinates of 3 Atlas. At first, NASA called it coincidence, a passing wave in magnetic flux, a temporary solar anomaly. But then, millions of kilometers away, the Solar Orbiter recorded the same bending pattern. 2 spacecraft. 2 vantage points. One undeniable truth. The Sun's own wind, the force that defines the shape of the heliosphere, was being redirected by something the size of an asteroid. Physically, that should be impossible. To bend plasma on such a scale would require a magnetic field greater than any natural body could produce. It was as if a pebble had bent a hurricane. As if a grain of dust had whispered, and the Sun had listened. And so, one possibility remained, a possibility that shook the scientific world. 3 Atlas wasn't a rock. The message simulations revealed that the object behaved as if it had its own magnetic field. It wasn't passive, it was responsive. Adapting, adjusting, moving with purpose. The James Webb Telescope's infrared readings confirmed the impossible. The object's heat signatures fluctuated like a controlled reactor. It was converting solar energy into magnetic force, feeding on sunlight, growing stronger with every pulse. The feedback was instantaneous. The more energy it absorbed, the more the solar wind bent around it, as though the object were playing the sun. Astrophysicists began calling it a stellar siphon, a theoretical construct that could harvest plasma directly from a star. Others whispered darker theories, that it was an observer, a probe of alien origin, powering itself on the breath of the very stars it watched. Every observation deepened the mystery. Its tail, once thought to be vaporized ice, moved counter to every known trajectory. Its magnetic polarity flipped in rhythmic intervals. And faint electromagnetic pulses emerged every 4.3 seconds, steady, mathematical, deliberate. If it were natural, it should have disintegrated at perihelion. Instead, it awakened. Its light grew stronger. Its influence, undeniable. Even stranger, its behavior was synchronized with the sun itself. When 3 Atlas brightened, Parker recorded sharper bends in the solar wind. When it dimmed, the wind straightened again. The correlation was perfect. As if the object and the sun were engaged in a cosmic duet, a dance of light and plasma. Scientists tried everything to explain it. Solar resonance, Lorentz forces, tail ionization. None of it fit. To create such effects, 3 Atlas would need to manipulate magnetic fields in 3 dimensions, with precision beyond human capability. If artificial, its energy output would exceed 1 trillion watts, enough to power entire worlds. That led to a staggering realization. 3 Atlas might not just be a machine. It could be evidence of a Type II civilization on the Kardashev scale. A culture capable of harnessing the full power of its star. Humanity, by comparison, is barely a Type 0.7. Yet this object behaved as if it could bend the wind of the sun like silk. The bending wasn't random. It was graceful. Elegant. Precise. The sun and 3 Atlas seemed to resonate, not in conflict, but in harmony. For the first time in history, we weren't just watching the universe. The universe was watching back. Maybe 3 Atlas wasn't a probe as we imagine. Not a vessel of metal and circuitry, but something far more advanced. A structure woven from magnetic fields and plasma currents. Alive, in its own way. A being of resonance and light. Perhaps it doesn't carry intelligence. Perhaps it is intelligence. A mind that exists as pattern, not matter. As energy, not flesh. When the solar wind bent, it wasn't resistance. It was conversation. Imagine it, a life form that travels between stars, not by engines but by harmony, riding the magnetic tides of suns across the dark sea of space. To such a being, stars aren't furnaces. They're oceans. And our sun was merely another shore. It makes you wonder. How many times have such travelers passed this way before? How many signals have we missed, hidden in the light we never learned to listen to? Now, as 3 Atlas drifts beyond Neptune, its influence still lingers, a faint curvature in the solar wind, a whisper in the plasma sea. Its pulse continues, steady, deliberate, distant. Repeating with the same perfect rhythm. Maybe it's just physics we don't yet understand. Or maybe, it's a signal we were finally ready to hear. The question that remains is not what 3 Atlas is, but why it came. Was it observing? Refueling? Or testing the boundaries of a young civilization just beginning to understand the language of the stars? If light is the language of the universe, perhaps this was the first time humanity truly heard a word of it. And if so, Then the bending of the solar wind wasn't defiance. It was a greeting. A gesture written in sunlight. A reminder that we are not alone. That intelligence may already exist on scales beyond imagination, as waves, as fields, as stars that think. And maybe, far beyond the thin reach of our instruments, something radiant turned its gaze toward us and whispered, "We see you, stay curious." Because out there, beyond the edge of the heliosphere, something may still be bending the wind. Waves, exploring the unknown, one mystery at a time.